Oh, and you don't need this.
Okay.
Hard man to catch.
Thank you. Well, good morning. You know, every time I do this, it's always like, oh gosh, here I go again. I've been looking for Dennis. Oh, there he is. Okay, great. Whew. Wow. So how have all of you been doing this morning so far? Excellent. Well, I overheard her saying life-threatening challenges, and so I'll explain a little bit. You know, Wes didn't want me to begin until he was here. Has he arrived? He's arrived. Excellent. Oh. I'd like to begin first by saying thank you for coming. And Wes asked me to come to speak before you. And I'm very, very thankful to have been able to make it. Because I believe that somehow, some way, if it's not just one or many of you, will hopefully, God willing, be inspired, motivated, and educated enough to embrace some of the principles and concepts that you're going to be learning about today that may enhance the integrity and the quality of your lives, as it has mine. 28 years ago, I was faced with a sizable tumor behind my head. I had massive acne, chronic asthma, and arthritis. And I was just about 21 back then, in 1973. And I was chronically constipated to the point where I was going to the bathroom every 2-3 weeks at a time. When the waste backs up in your system, things get pretty foggy. Wes, would you do me the dearest favor and go in your office and get my green bag? You know which one I'm talking about? It's that real heavy one.
Now we know why you needed extra time.
Well, they said I was going to speak at 10:30 now, and they says, no, we're going to do it at 10 now. Great. Luckily, Ian was helping with the computer, so you had a little worksheet there. You haven't received it yet, right? Okay, great. So anyhow, so being faced with all these things and parasite problems and liver problems and candida, which is a yeast infection throughout the body, it went systemic, which means that it went in your bloodstream. It's and then with allergies and hay fever, there's a lot of things that happen. It didn't happen all at once. It happened in increments, right? But by the time all these things were happening to me, I'm thinking, why? What's causing all these things to happen to me like this? And in 1970, when I graduated from high school, I was able to run 5-10 miles a day. I was doing 90 pull-ups a day, 150 push-ups every night, 300 sit-ups every night. I mean, I was in pretty good shape. And I went through boot camp, flying colors. And out of 100 guys, I was top 3. So for me to, 3 years later, to end up with all these maladies, I'm thinking, why? What's causing them? And I believe that we as people need to know what causes the challenges that we come against, whether it's health challenges or whatever kind of challenges. We need to address the cause, go after the cause and address that, and then your challenge goes away. So when I went into the doctor and he said I had a tumor, I said, well, and he wanted me to come in the following week and run some tests and then surgically remove it. I said, well, so he didn't know this, but several years prior to that, before I went in the Air Force, because I was in the Air Force at the time when I was 21, so he didn't know that the neighbor across the street had a tumor, a young lady had a tumor behind her head. They surgically removed it, and she died 2 years later. So me remembering that, I was thinking, okay, wait a minute. Hey, doctor, you want to cut this thing out? Okay, well, can we do something else besides surgery? And because you can see now that I was quite alarmed by that, and and so I was, and you know, when you're 21, you're thinking, oh no, that's black, green.
I can't find it yet.
Oh, okay, it's in your office. You know where your copier is? Oh, forgive me. It was moved. It was moved in the family room by the kitchen there, by the TV. He's getting his workout. The green. It's kind of a green bag, you know. So you better make sure it's about that long. Green, dark green. And so anyway, so I'm faced with this. So he said, "Come in next." You know. So I asked him. I says, "What? Can we do something else besides surgery?" He says, "No." I says, "Well, what causes tumors? I mean, like, how did I get this thing? Where did it come from?" He says, "I don't know." Because I told him, I said, "Hey, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't take drugs. You know, I study scripture, and I'm a good person, I'm clean, straight. What's the deal? What caused this thing to happen? You know, how did I get it?" He's, "I don't know." So I'm thinking he's a specialist, he's a doctor, right? I'm thinking he should know these things, right? He's the man, right? And I'm thinking, he doesn't know. And I'm thinking, oh, great. So I leave thinking, what am I going to do? So anyway, next week comes along, and I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but I'm really hoping that you have. But if you ever had that hunch or a little voice talk to you sometimes when you're doing something in life and all of a sudden you're thinking about something else totally, and then something else comes inside you and it tells you something to do something about whatever it is. It's either a premonition or it's that little soft voice inside you. It tells you and it gives you direction in your life. And if you ever can be so sensitive to tune into that, listen carefully, because it could save your life, change your life, or enhance your life one way or the other. And there it is. That's the one. So anyway, so that little voice told me, don't go. So I didn't. I listened to that. And so, thanks, Wes. Pretty heavy, huh? What a dude. One of these days I'm going to go to PowerPoint, let me tell you. So anyhow, I listened to that voice and I didn't go back. But I did wonder, what am I going to do? So after that, I started praying intensely about what's causing all these things inside me, you know, and what are the solutions to them. Well, one day, finally, after some time went by, and I was dealing with all this asthma and taking medications for it, shots, pills, you know, I was going through a lot of stuff. And one day I elected to just say, that's it. Because the little voice told me, don't. When I say the little voice, I'm really talking about the big guy, okay? He's talking to me, right? So I said, you know, if I could just know what to do. So the little voice told me, quit taking the shots, the pills. I'll teach you. And I thought, wow, great. So I walk out of the hospital, didn't take the shots, and I knew I was facing a chronic asthma attack. Because every time I tried to get away from taking any medication, I always ended up in an asthma attack. And it was very, very severe. I was actually lifted, taken into the hospital, given some shots, pills and all that, and brought back. So I was forced to live on medication. Didn't like it, but I didn't know what else to do. So when I was instructed to avoid or to walk away from all that, and that I would be taught, I was a bit scared. But I took that step of faith and that trust, and I was willing to give up my life for it. So that night, I ended up with a chronic asthma attack. And instead of taking the medication or asking for any help, going that direction, the allopathic medicine, I mainly just said, I submitted myself and I gave up myself, and I just said, well, Father, this is it. You know, you either take me now and I'll serve you over there, or you spare me, teach me the cause and the solutions to what I need to know, and I'll do whatever it takes, and then I'll serve you here. Well, however long I'm here. And if you want to do that, then you can do that too. Whatever you want to do, it's okay. I'm ready to go. So whatever you want to do. And then I had a visit. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I had a visit. I was instructed what to do. Right after that, I was given the privilege to meet somebody who I thought was around 30, 32, and he was 52. He trained me 6 months. Within 6 months, all these things disappeared, never came back, and never had to use medication or anything. And since then, I've been well. And in this month, August 25th, another blessed year for me. I get the privilege to turn 49 and just be so extremely thankful for another year. And so my love goes out to you, and hopefully, again, you'll be inspired, motivated, educated enough to hopefully embrace some of these things I talk about. And from there, you shall have benefits from it and be enhanced by it. And hopefully, God willing, you'll be feeling better or just as well as I do, and you'll definitely last longer. I can assure you of that. So you can see that I recovered pretty well, and I'm holding all right, and I feel great, and it's been really wonderful. So a couple things that you need to know about is where's that sheet, Dennis? That'd be great. Yeah. He's going to hand you just a little worksheet. We're going to cover some key points about some things.
One sec. So Diane's doing the other half of the room. I'll do this half. She's working from the back. So just take one, pass it on, and it's for short.
What you're about to experience is just an overview of some principles and concepts that have incredibly not only enhanced and brought me back, but because of this work, I've been doing seminars and workshops throughout the country, and because of it, it has taken people by the thousands, and has literally made a great impact on their lives in many different ways. Not only allowed them to feel better and sleep better and eliminate better and do better, look better, feel better, and last longer and all that, but it has helped them to overcome a lot of abnormalities and incredible challenges that people have suffered with, as I have, and many more other challenges. You know, everybody has their story, you know. Mine's nothing compared to some of the people I've worked with and had the privilege to work with. But so far, I haven't seen any sickness or disease not be overcome by these principles. So they're pretty powerful. So I would suggest you listen carefully, take a few notes. Does everybody have a worksheet now?
No, we're short.
There's a few short? Okay.
If you've got any extras or any more holes that would line
You know what, Ian? Okay, Ian has the master. He can whip up a few more if you need.
have some here. Who needs one? Put your hand up.
Okay. Diane?
Yes?
Ian can make you some more too, okay?
Okay, I think
Yeah.
we're pretty much covered. Anybody else need one?
Okay. There'll be some more coming in a little bit here, so you'll have one for yourself. Oh gosh, I don't even have one. Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
You know, there's all kinds of different reasons why we're here. You know, and there's many different purposes that people have. And like, I was listening to Alex yesterday, and I thought, wow, people need to know about these things, you know. But when it comes to fulfilling our purpose here, after experiencing for a while now, I've learned to realize that if we don't take some form of responsibility for ourselves and maintain ourselves, we're not going to be able to fulfill our purpose here, whatever that is. And so if we're going to do that, then it's a good idea to tap into these different principles that we're talking about here. So number one, as you can see on your worksheet, it talks about the healthy cells concept. And if you were to look at healthy cells, as you have trillions of them, right, throughout your body, if you were to underline heal thy cell, so these things you're going to learn about right now off this worksheet, if you incorporate them and utilize them in your life, on a daily basis, you will find that you can not only heal your cells and regenerate them, but you can maintain them. And you can maintain an incredible, youthful, vibrant, energetic life and feel happy and feel filled with peace and joy and everything else that life has to offer. And so the very first block, you'll notice that there's 4 blocks on that sheet. You want to get on, let's see if you're on the right side. There's 2 sides. The one you want to be on right now is called Healthy Cells Concept. That's the side you want to be on. So the first block, as you see, there's 4 blocks, kind of like your chair has 4 legs. It supports you into the air there, so you can sit and watch. So each one of these blocks represent like a leg on your chair kind of thing to support you and keep you up. And these 4 blocks you must have working through you to keep your cells strong and healthy and vibrant and maintain them really well. And so the very first one, as you can see, they call it cell communication. So in cell communication, in order for that to be working for you, we need to spiritually connect, is what they call it, connecting spiritually. I'm not talking about religion now. I'm talking about a totally different level now, okay? Some of you may be religious, but going on to another side of religion is the spiritual side. And that's when you're spiritually connecting, developing and evolving into an intimate relationship with your Father, on a spiritual level. And some of us may not know who He is or how it all works, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you tap into it, tap into where we came from. And all you really have to do is just trust and believe and maintain this incredible faith that you came from somewhere. Something put you here, and you've been given a purpose. And some of us have found that purpose, and some of us haven't. But I would suggest you look for that purpose that you have in this life, and then follow it, and then excel with it, and then do it with a passion. But I would say first spiritually connect, because you see, when I was at my deathbed, that's exactly what I did. I turned to a spiritual side, and I had nowhere else to go. I couldn't count on doctors, and I didn't know my family, my friends, and everybody that I knew could not help me from where I was at. And the only thing I could do is put my hands together and just open my heart out to Him and just say, hey, here I am. Take me or make me right. And so that was the first beginning of a new life for myself. So we do have the ability to be reborn, now not only from a spiritual aspect, but from also a mental, emotional, and a physical part of ourselves. We can be reborn and regenerated and become whole, It's a constant journey, right? And the next thing is emotional balancing. What does that mean? Well, you see, when I was a little boy, I was very neglected, rejected, and beaten, and I went through a lot of major challenges. By the time I was 7, all I could wish for was someone to take a gun and just shoot me and take me out, because I didn't want to live here anymore. It was that severe, And now I can just laugh about it, It's okay now, and then by the time I was 10, I was telling people, you mess with me, I'm going to take you out, Imagine a 10-year-old saying, look, you mess with me, you better take me out or I'm going to take you out, And I was serious. I was going to take people out and kill them and destroy them if they mess with me, because I got to that point, And it's a miserable life to live under, But so I went through a lot of stuff, and so I had to learn the process of emotional balancing. And basically what that means is learning to take all the challenges, all the diversities, all the difficulties, all the abuse, all the neglect, the rejections, the beatings, and be able to take all that and be able to forgive. To be able to forgive, it can be very difficult for some, and for me it was extremely difficult. But To be able to let go and trust and be able to forgive, it's what it takes really is learning to love. And so when you fall in love with life, and when you fall in love with God, and fall in love with yourself, and fall in love with people, and realize that they're not where they might want to be, but they don't. A lot of people don't know any better, and we need to be able to understand that. So when you learn to forgive and learn to love unconditionally, it's not easy. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. So I work on it all the time. But that was one of the keys to my freedom, to be able to become free from sickness and disease. And the man who I met that I thought was 32, it turned out to be 52. I was very impressed by him, by the way. And he traveled all over the world for 30 years, learning, studying, researching natural alternatives to healing. He lived with people that were living 150 years or better in different parts of the world. He learned some very powerful secrets to longevity and health and vitality and everything else. And he was a very, very spiritual individual, very knowledgeable, and he's probably, I would consider him to be the strongest man I have ever met. He was very very, very strong. Excuse me? He was a man who nobody really ever knew other than his family and a few friends. He never wrote a book. He never made any tapes or videos or anything like that. But his name, he was born and raised in Hawaii. He was an Oriental, Hawaiian mixture. In his travels, though, he learned so much from different cultures that he incorporated a very specific lifestyle. He lived off the land, him and his wife and 2 little girls. And when I met him, the second day I met him, he moved me into his home, trained me, showed me the ropes, and he taught me all kinds of different things that I'm sharing with you today. All the stuff I'm sharing with you today, he taught me, plus much more. What you're going to get right now is just an overview, and then if you all want a little workshop or something and show some nuts and bolts about how to do certain things, then maybe Wes can facilitate that if you want. Show you a few things. I don't know. After we talk, I may ask that question. If you want a workshop, then you raise your hand, and then maybe we'll see if we can work something out and show you a few key things that you can do. But anyway, but when it comes to emotional balancing between love, respect, and honor, and learning to love unconditionally, and learning to forgive, how can you tell if you're emotionally balanced or not? Well, if you have any form of judgment, criticism, condemning other people, when you criticize or ridicule, judge others, which creates resentment and eventually guilt, fear, anger, and all that kind of thing. But if you have any of that kind of stuff happening to you, then you know you're emotionally out of balance. Because to be emotionally balanced, you're not suffering with, like when something happens wrong to you, or something happens that's like a diversity or something that's not going the way you want it, and you find yourself using vulgar language, or you're damning it or slamming it or other people, you know you're out of balance, you're out of harmony. So our objective is to be healthy, live in peace, and be filled with joy, right? I mean, that's all love, right? And if you fall out of that zone, that means you're out of the zone. And if you're out of that zone, guess what happens to you? Then you become vulnerable to viral, bacterial, yeast, fungal, parasitic infections, and all kinds of weird things. Diseases set in, all kinds of awful things happen to you. Because you see, when you're out of the zone, you develop chemical imbalances inside you, and then you start deteriorating very quickly, and then you end up with disease. So if you want to stay out of that realm, you go into the other zone, which is the one I talked about. So emotional balancing is really, really key, because you see that's one of the main roots to sickness and disease. So it's a good reason to address it and stay in that zone. So how can you help each other? Well, if you find somebody that you love and care about, and you make a commitment to each other to hold each other accountable, that will help you. And in order to do that, you need to be able to let go and trust in someone that can hold you accountable for what you're saying, doing, eating, drinking. So that will help you. That's why it's important that we learn to love each other, care for each other, and hold each other accountable, and open ourselves up. So that's why I say to you that if you catch me saying, bless you, but if you catch me saying anything that's out of a line, alignment with anything that's of the best, then I don't mind opening myself up to each one of you to correct me and challenge me to that and help me to be better and to say things in a way that's more in balance, that's more pleasing, and that kind of thing. Because we don't need to slam each other anymore and judge and criticize each other. We really don't. It's a lot better if we could just do the other, right? So the other one is positive mental attitude. If your thought pattern is on the negative side, if you're always slamming people or slamming yourself or always thinking negative, and if you're always looking at the worst side of everything, then you're going to fall into, your emotions are going to fall out of balance, and your emotions are real critical. They govern you, So it's really important that we stay on the positive side. Look at the bright side of everything as much as you can, and look at life more like everything is for the good. No matter what it is, no matter what happens to us, it's not what happens to us that really make up who we are. It's how we deal with those issues, And so if we can just focus on that and do our best to be as positive, as optimistic as possible, then we're definitely going to be rocking, okay? Another one is, we already talked about the power of forgiveness, but how do you do that? Well, again, this is a real key issue here, so I'd just like to emphasize one more time that learning to let go, it may not be easy, but learning to trust, let go, and know that all things are happening for the good, and understand that the other individual that's slamming you or ridiculing you or saying things that are out of line or doing, living in a way that is very destructive to themselves and try also to take advantage of you or sabotage you, well, yeah, it's okay to be cautious, it's okay to be careful. I've been sabotaged many times, I've been taken advantage many times, I've been used, rebuked, and all kinds of weird things, and ridiculed and stuff, but when we can understand that they really don't know, they don't really understand who they are, where they come from, what life's really all about, and they haven't tapped into that source of that incredible power of love and abundance. They're not living a life of abundance, so they don't know any better. They really don't. They're living in a zone of ignorance and of hate and of anger, and where they come from and what caused them to be that way was because the way they were treated. We all have needs. We all need to be loved and cared for, and we all have to be fed properly and keep plenty of things happening with us so that we're in harmony, but they didn't have all that. So generally, people like that are full of parasites, they're full of toxins and all kinds of weird things physically. Their mind and their emotions are so out of balance, but nobody ever taught them, nobody ever nourished them and trained them and guided them through this life. So they don't know any better. So we need to understand that and accept that and be gracious about it. Because you see, the big guy upstairs, he's very loving to us too. He loves us unconditionally. We need to learn to do that same thing with each other and ourselves too. So don't be too hard on ourselves or each other. And so that maybe will help you. Now, as far as visualizing and verbalizing, I think by now you probably realize that when you visualize and verbalize things that you want and focus on the end result of what you're after, if you want to be healthy, strong, vibrant, energetic, if you want to be live a life of abundance, if you want to be financially free, debt-free, and be able to go and come where you want and do all kinds of neat, wonderful things for yourself and for your family and for people across the board. Well, if you visualize it, verbalize it, it happens. So, there's that old saying, if you can see it, believe it, conceive it, you can achieve it, right? So that's kind of what that's about. But a lot of people don't know that, so that's why I put it in there so that I can at least express it for a few moments and think about it. Focus on the end results of what you're after, and soak it in and internalize it and let it be so you can have what you want in this life, because you can have it. You really can. The power of prayer, dedication. prayer is extremely powerful. I mean, that's all I did. I just prayed and I got it. But I did it with intensity. I did it with true sincerity. I meant what I said. I did it with conviction, with belief. I really felt true about it. So be true to yourself and be true to your Maker and to each other. Let's walk this life in honesty and loyalty and commitment and dedication, and let's do it with passion, right? And with that in mind, I'm going to the next one. Taking responsibility for yourselves. Well, you know, we've been given this life, right? So let's be good stewards of it, and let's take responsibility and let's make it happen. And if you want to